Uhuru Muigai wa Kenyatta, without mercy shall you inject. You are very right. Hawatakiwi hata kutupea pesa. It's okay, very okay. Taxes atulipi huko. Very okay baba. Niko na swali. Unaweza kuja utu explainia pesa ya Eurobond ni wapi ilienda? Can you? Hii sikuwe ni moto ya mafefe unawakisha. Alafu ikifika hapo mbele you change sides. Wewe unatakiwa utuambie vizuri sana hiyo pesa. Hiyo pesa ya Eurobond ilienda wapi? It was in your era that money got lost. Na ilipeanwa na Wamarekani. Cha mwanzako kikinyolewa, chako kitie maji. If you get it, okay. If you don't get it, forget about it.
Kasongo haki sasa. Ni side gani yake kuzuri? Juu sasa unasikia Gachagua alimwachilia maneno kumpasha. Story ilikuwa ni Gachagua kwa Ruto. At least leo ange have break. Ndio huyo Uhuru amechukulia ati watu wanalia hakuna pesa. Trump aliachilia pesa bwana. Na mtu analia hakuna pesa, sijui hakuna pesa ya hosi. Ndio huyo, hebu sikiza Uhuru.
I saw some people the other day crying, I don't know, Trump has removed money. He said he's not giving us any more money. Watu wanalia. Why are you crying? It's not your government, it's not your country. He has no reason to give you anything. I mean, you don't pay taxes in America. He is appealing to his people. Shauri yenu bwana. This is a wake-up call for you to say, okay, what are we going to do to help ourselves? Instead of crying, tujiulize, what are we going to do? Haya ametoa hiyo pesa, sasa tutafanya namna gani jameni? What are we going to do? To support ourselves. Because nobody is going to continue holding out a hand there to give you. It is time for us to use our resources for the right things. We are the ones who are using them for the wrong thing.
Uhuru akiendelea na hii designer na chapa Ruto. Ati anasema Ruto analia ati pesa imekatwa. Ati Trump amekata pesa. Unajua, there is something I believe that as Africans we need to watch. We cannot continuously rely on foreign aid to support our critical services like HIV and tuberculosis medicines. It is impossible and it is a responsibility for African countries to rely on foreign donors. That's why Uhuru Kenyatta is saying, why are you crying? The US has cut the support. They are an independent country. You are an independent country. They use taxpayers' money to bring these medicines to Africa. So why are you not using your taxpayers' money to pay for this medicine? It's because African countries are corrupt and they don't think about their population. They only think about how much they can amass so they can win the next election or stay forever in power. It's wrong.
My people, leo former President Uhuru Kenyatta ameamua kukanyaga Kasongo shingo. Sidhani kama anapumua. Yani mpaka rais wenu ameamua kwenda Egypt kidogo. Yani aende kupumzisha akili. Mnasikia? Ameenda kupumzisha akili. Kazi ipo. Aluta continues.
Rigiji ama Uhuru, who is it gonna be? The battle of titans has just begun officially. With Uhuru coming out, guns blazing and fighting Kasongo. It's a good thing. We applaud you for that. Whoever fights Kasongo is our friend. But now this is the question. Who is it gonna be? Uhuru or Rigiji? Because if Uhuru manages to be like the official opposition leader with the people right now, Where does he take these people between now and 2027? He takes them to Matiang'i, his project. And then Rigiji, if he happens to get the people between now and the next election, where does he take them? He creates the next government. He becomes a kingmaker. All right. So these are two forces right now in Mount Kenya that are really fighting, because I don't see Gachagua supporting Uhuru. I don't see Uhuru supporting Gachagua. All right. Juzi karibu waweke Rigiji kwa box ya kusema ata nini. If you critically analyze that event juzi where Rigiji spoke what is trending now, karibu waweke Rigiji ile mtego ya kusema ata support candidate ya Matiang'i. And my advice to Rigiji, because from where I'm seated, you have an upper ground than Uhuru. It seems I don't know, that's my opinion. Do not support Uhuru's project. Do not support Matiang'i. Let them support you to create the next leader, to create the next government. But again, having said all that, mimi na wewe Gen Zs na millennials, sisi tunaingia siasa so that we can fight for our now. Who is fighting for our future? Who is fighting for our now? We are broke. There are no jobs. Businesses are closing down. So are we going to get carried away with this politics and forget that we have something to fight for? That is our economic well-being. Who is fighting for us? Who is going to fight for us? That's the question that we must answer. So is it Uhuru, or is it going to be Rigiji, or is it going to be ourselves? So you decide. That is the scenario of our politics right now. You decide.
And the reason we should worry across Africa and in Kenya specifically is that our governments have left the HIV programs to be predominantly externally funded. Where is Kenya going to get the leeway to actually bring in $30 billion if they struggle with a gap of $1.5 billion already right now? So I would say that is not possible, which means that it's actually going to have a huge impact on provision of testing, because this money also buys the test kits, provision of ARVs to the people living with HIV, and also to ensuring that they are sustained on treatment. A withdrawal of PEPFAR would withdraw 40 billion shillings a year, which worries me, because now if that ends cold turkey or suddenly, where is Kenya going to get 40 billion Kenya shillings a year to actually address the HIV program? My honest view is that reproductive health is the country's first social investment, and that cannot be left to neighbors or friends. Because when you think about reproductive health, you're talking about the country's socio-economic development.
So for the 2 years that we're going to have a Ruto presidency and a Trump presidency, well, who's going to blink first?
As you do your budget, stop counting on the donation of your neighbor as part of your budget for every month. And that's what this country has been doing. And Trump is telling you now, wake up. Start doing your budgets exclusive of America's contribution. 60 years after independence, you're not able to make your own malaria tablets. If you look at when China got their independence and when we got our independence, it's a very short distance in terms of years apart. So we need to wake up as Africans. Why are we waiting for the US to come and give us mosquito nets? Why are we waiting for the US to come and give us malaria drugs? There is enough money in this country for treating TB and HIV/AIDS and malaria and so on and so forth. Kenya is not doing the right things. For the lack of a better word, fools who have no idea on how a country can raise money other than taxation.
I take note of the question with regards to US government and what was given as an executive order. So as the Ministry of Health, I have tasked the various state departments, the various programs and directors that have been involved or that will be affected by this, so that we can be able to map out and look at the impact in matters finances, in matters human resource, etc. And with this, we'll come up with a concrete way forward in terms of interventions, of which we'll be able to share with the Cabinet, His Excellency the President of the Republic of Kenya, and see how we can move forward in matters intervention. So we kindly request that you give us some time before concretizing this, and we'll be able to share with the rest of the country. Yeah.
Trump 2.0 era is set to impact Africa in very interesting ways. Now, one of the executive orders that was signed yesterday touches on a pause to foreign development assistance for 90 days. And they say that U.S. foreign aid is not aligned with American interests, and therefore they plan to review the programs. When you touch on foreign development assistance, essentially you are touching on aid. And when you touch on aid, you touch on Africa. What are the numbers? Now, generally, in the year 2023, there was a total aid of 223.3 billion. And of that, Africa received 59.7 billion, okay, which is equivalent to 26.8%. Now, of that 26.8%, again, Kenya as a country, we rank under the low middle income tier of countries. Of that 26.8%, 23.3%, okay, came to lower middle income countries, 16.2% went to lower income countries, and 0.2% to high income countries. So those are the numbers. Now you go further and dig deeper in regards to aid to Kenya. And this one is specifically from the United States of America. There is a site called foreignassistance.gov, which is a US site, and it tracks this spending. Now, there are actually obligations worth 850 million. So essentially, these contractual agreements that have already been signed, either presently, ongoing, or in the future, that will see this aid money directed. So this 850 million in 2023 was directed to Kenya, and specifically health took a huge chunk of that, almost close to 50%, then followed by humanitarian assistance, then economic development, then program support, peace and security. So when you talk about aid, actually, Africa is thought to be a very aid dependent continent, and that becomes a problem when we see a very American centered and very protectionist Trump era coming back. This is where we talk about Africa developing its own systems and self-reliance to be able to buffer itself. When geopolitics change, you're not impacted heavily. Remember what happened when Russia went to war with the Ukraine. Prices went up here because there is that dependency. So self-sufficiency is the future, and you can see Trump pushing that. Hopefully, Africa learns its lesson. The executive order by President Donald Trump in regards to pausing aid or foreign development assistance, as they call it, the trickle effect is still oncoming, even as we see what is going on with immigration and whatnot. But the Usaid issued a statement outlining, and this was addressed to contracting and agreement officers and implementing partners. Remember, they fund lots of projects from education to health across Africa. Now, what did the notice essentially touch on? First of all, it is pausing of funding. Usaid said that it is halting new funding and changes to existing funding agreements for certain foreign aid programs while they review these programs. These include pausing contracts and grants. So everything to be put on ice, and no pun intended, in regards to what's going on in America. For starters, then they won't actually know new awards or proposals, so they won't call for proposals for funding, and they won't award any. But there are exceptions actually that USAID and is going to consider and is considering. So all these pause won't apply to emergency food aid and related expenses. That is one. Also some temporary salaries and expenses for contractors and expenses incurred before January 24th, 2025 under existing awards. So moving backwards, if at all there were obligations that were not met. prior to 24th of January. Then they will take care of that, and any other exception that will be approved by the Director of Foreign Assistance. So essentially, they're saying that this is happening, and what they're doing reviews of these processes. So if at all there are funding projects, they're reviewing all of them, and guess how long this review will take? 85 days. Okay, that is close to 3 months from January 24th. That's the day, the baseline. So we wait and see, but I think Trump is acting on what he promised, and it's a call to African nations in regards to self-dependency, which is very critical, but also just diligence when it comes to handling resources, because if you're having people funding some of the projects within the country, then accountability and maximum utilization of this support becomes very critical.
A friend of mine once corrected me when I said that in Africa there is corruption. He said, no, in Africa there is no corruption. Corruption presupposes there is some element of intelligence in theft. What we see in Africa is looting and theft on an industrial scale. They want to be described as honorable even when they are horrible. They acquire things which they have not worked for. They promise us things that they know they will never deliver. And there is no shortage of such men and women in the African continent.
Hi Kenyans, mi sina maneno mengi. All I want to say is Ruto must go. Like yesterday. Bye.
You like me, why them a fight me. You like me, chewing a bone, bite me. You like me, chewing a bite me. Don't like how I love you. When I touch them, even if we put them. When I touch them, stay fine, not touch them. When I touch them, what they are, I soak them. In farm, I say, you bust them.